Now if you see old palaces, old temples, they all used lime. They have, and many of them survive for 300 years, 400 years, 500 years. We have buildings in Kerala that have survived for 400, 500 years with timber, with lime, with stone. But if you see a concrete building today, I don't think its life is more than 25, 30, 50 years. Yeah. So it's a misconception that traditional build materials don't last long. I feel it lasts much longer than modern materials if you use it the right way. I'm architect Vinodkumar MM, practiced from Thrissur in Kerala 2000, and now it's 2026, so it's 25-year plus since we started our firm. And we've been exploring projects of different types, ranging from conservation, urban projects, plus residences and interiors. Most of the projects are close to the earth and it's close to the people. So that way our explorations have taken us to different kind of projects, right from the old palace in Thrissur, the central temple in the town, and a lot of very interesting clients. And so that's also been a learning process that we've been working with a lot of craftsmen, a lot of people, and a lot of important parts in the town. Like for example, we worked with the old heritage waterway in Thrissur, which was lying unused for the last 30-40 years. So we've worked with a heritage water body, ponds in the town, which we have given new life, garden in the old palace. So these are all interesting urban projects which we work for, and again we work with a lot of conservation, and we work with other residential and other projects. So it's a mixture of all this which makes our practice very interesting. And also I'm the convener of INTAC in Thrissur. For INTAC, again, we do a lot of work, walks, heritage walks, workshops and other things. And from DD Architects, we also do workshops called AYA. AYA is the name we've given for our workshop series, where we explore different things. We explore sustainable projects. Now something we are doing in this coming 14th, we are taking a group of students to one of our sustainable home, which is between Thrissur and Palakkad. So these are all interesting things which happens in our practice. Yeah, and again we do a lot of documentation, a lot of research. Yeah, so you can't fix our practice to one single typology. We do multiple things, multiple projects, multiple research, and all kind of explorations, which makes the practice interesting, which again we work with a lot of trainees come to us. We've had trainees from different parts of the country. We work along with them, and through that whole process we try to explore new things and we try to create new things. So it's a mixture of everything: trainees plus craftsmen plus interesting clients plus exploration of the local landscape. It's everything together which makes our practice interesting. And now we are also trying to set up a small store called AYA Store. We are sitting right here, where we are trying to work with a lot of local craftsmen, local women, and local self-help groups, trying to display a lot of their products. So that's again something which we are planning for the future. We just started now, where we will have a good display of local contemporary products. I think we have been into this process for the last 20 plus years. We started around 2000, so it's around 25 years now. So all these while we have worked and explored many materials, right from lime to laterite to stone to metal, wood. So I think that material exploration have been part of our journey all these while. And each time we meet a new craftsman, a new person, we try to explore that, and often we try to bring it to our work. So I think clients do agree to it, and I think they are also very much part of the process. Now we explore oxide, and it's I would say, a win-win situation for everyone. For us as an architect, for the craftsman who's definitely getting a lot of exposure for his work, plus the clients who see something very new or something very interesting, something not practiced regularly. So I think it's a win-win situation for everyone. It's just that, yes, it's a new material, or it's a new, now we don't use lime, or generally people don't use lime everywhere. So then when we use that as a material, we need to do that initial work to convince the client. But I guess that's all. Otherwise things are easy, or I would say we enjoy the process. In fact, I would say every project for us, we believe something very strong, that beauty doesn't depend on expensive products. So that's something which we are really convinced of. It's beauty comes out of consciousness. Consciousness means out of consciousness of using materials, consciousness of life. I think that's the basic, that's an Indian concept actually. So I think that's something which we've been following from day one of our practice. Now if you see our office, it's all very basic products. We have exposed concrete, we have doors without frames. So it's all very basic materials we've used. We used lime, we used oxide, and we used reused timber and old tiles. So in most of the projects, every project in fact, we don't believe in spending too much money. What we believe is when there is a truth and when there is consciousness in using material, definitely the beauty is a byproduct. We don't I think the problem is today in most architects, they work in a very visual perspective. The whole idea of architecture also has become very visual. So you get 3D, you want to see this, but I feel we don't work like that. We don't have to, I feel, because beauty is a byproduct. The moment there is some honesty in the way you use materials, in structure, I think beauty is always a byproduct. I don't think we have to do the other way around. There are many examples. Our office is an example, and there is an example where we worked for a photographer friend who said he wants a house for 10 or 12 lakh rupees, where we got most of the materials from an old tile factory. The tiles we got, brick we got, and again we got shutters and all from an old house which the client sourced. So everything was from an old recycled products, and we could finish it in 10 or 12 lakh rupees. The only problem is like the client should be convinced about it, and again it takes our time. So the client should respect the time, the architect's time. I think that's the only issue which we have normally, but otherwise it's very much possible. Traditional for us, it's been a learning process, in the sense we do a lot of conservation projects, like we do temples. We've been involved in the old palaces here, an old guest house, a British period guest house. So it's a process of learning for us. We work with the craftsmen, we work with new materials. So it's largely a learning process, and also once we do all these things, it becomes easy for us to introduce all these materials for a contemporary project also. So we don't really want to do traditional designs for new projects in the sense, but we use a lot of traditional materials. We use lime, we use oxide, we use timber, we use a lot of traditional materials. We have used copper. So that's mostly from our exposure or our experience in working with conservation projects, which a normal practice doesn't have. So we've been lucky that we've got quite a lot of conservation projects which uses a lot of these old materials, traditional typologies. So that's mostly in the material perspective. But when it comes to design, I think most of our projects are modern. I don't think design wise we can put it as traditional. Definitely with respect to materials, and also with respect to the kind of light or the kind of spaces that it creates, it has a lot of traditional vibe. But definitely I would say most of our projects have a modern outlook to it. I think it's a misconception that traditional materials don't stay longer. Now if you see old palaces, old temples, they all used lime. They have and many of them survive for 300 years, 400 years, 500 years. We have buildings in Kerala that have survived for 400, 500 years with timber, with lime, with stone. But if you see a concrete building today, I don't think its life is more than 25, 30, 50 years. Yeah. So it's a misconception that traditional materials don't last long. I feel it lasts much longer than modern materials if we use it the right way. So I think definitely the lasting is never an issue. It lasts much longer than many of the modern materials. I think the trust which a client places on you is very important. So I think that is very critical. Once the client has his trust on you, then I think it's easy. But if that trust part is not there, then it becomes difficult. So many times we work with a basic plan, like even if you see our office, it's just a basic plan which we had, and then as the project evolves, we keep changing, and I think it's something like a movie. We have heard of many directors talking about they just work without script. Now you definitely you don't have a detailed script, but you will have an idea. A project is also like that. You have an idea, you have a basic plan with you, you have visions, okay, this is how it's going to be, this space is going to be like this, and things like that. So with that basic vision and plan, you start exploring in the site. And once you start exploring in the site, you discover, okay, this light is coming from here. It might be good to have an opening in the site, or some breeze is flowing in this side. It's always good to have this thing here. So I think that discovery of the site mostly happens through the process, because I don't think it can happen in the beginning itself, because I think it takes time. So once you get used to the site, so that way site visits are very important for us. When you go there multiple times, you discover something new. Okay, there's a tree here, why don't we have an opening with the view of the tree? So I think that kind of discovery, so that way it's very important to work with the site, because many of these things it cannot be resolved totally in the drawing table, because especially today, once things are all done through computers, I think it's tough, I would say, for us to be part of the site, to explore the site, to get the cues from the site is very important, and that gets reflected in the whole structure. And as we design, and by the time it gets completed, I think that closeness with the site happens, and then only the building becomes part of the site, or it will be with the site. Yeah, I think it all depends on what's the concept which you have. Like now, for a project which we are doing recently in Pudukkode, it's an Agraharam site. It's a narrow site, 5 meters by maybe 50 meters. So then again, the surroundings are all old traditional houses, so we need to see how it fits in that context. Now we can't put something which doesn't gel with the surroundings. So that concept becomes part of the whole exercise. We need to see how the whole process matches with the surroundings, how it also gels with the surroundings. So I think that's a process. So similarly, I don't think there's anything called a good site or bad site. Every site is good site only. How you explore the site. Now when there is an issue with the site, now suppose there is a noise, or it's part of an urban setting, then we need to see how to cut off the noise, how we respond to that site condition. So I think every site is good. So we need to see how we explore that part of the site, so that we kind of make the project good. Every site is good, I think. I don't think there's something called good site, bad site. It's how you work it out, how you explore the site. I think that's all. It's how your design works within the context. I think when we talk of India, I think again India has many different climatic zones, a lot of different kind of site conditions and climatic conditions. So I think we need to see where are we designing, in which part of India. Now if you see, for example, Kerala is very humid and it's again hot. We have a lot of rainfall. So we get a lot of cue from how our traditional masters have designed, how they have given the overhang, how they have used material, how they have protected us from the sun. How do we have the kulapuras or the bathhouses where you get the enough light, plus you get the breeze touching the water and hitting you. So I think if we explore the local landscape and the traditional typologies, we get a lot of ideas on how to design the spaces, or how do we feel comfortable. I think basically it's also about being comfortable. So I think once we explore all these traditional structures, I think definitely it gives us ideas as to what is comfort. Now comfort in Kerala is different from comfort in Tamil Nadu or comfort in Delhi, because every place the site conditions or the climatic conditions differ largely. So we need to see how does a person feel comfortable in a situation in that place. So that once we have that understanding, we also have to bring in a lot of knowledge or that we have in today's world through our research as to how to use glass, whether to use double glazing, how to bring in less heat through the roof, can we use a reflective material. So I think these are the things which we again how to lessen the energy, because today we have a lot of materials which are imported and the market is full of materials. So I think when we talk of sustainability, we need to also see how can we do it in the Indian context, because how much of materials can we use. Now a lot of Indian products which we use, especially the local tiles, many times when we go for rating process, we find out that it's a lot of this values are not researched, or it's not there, although it's sustainable. So sometimes we have an issue in trying to prove that okay, it is sustainable. So I think that's something which as architects we need to put that extra effort or trouble to do that research, to find out okay, now when we use a local mason or a local craftsman and a local material, how much of energy are we saving, and how sustainable is our product. That's a research which we need to do. I think we only have to put in that extra effort and do that research to prove to the world okay, this is something sustainable. Because if you see multinational companies and the products which they produce, many times they all go through this whole process because they have the financial backing and things like that. But from if a small village produce something, they might not have that kind of backing or that kind of an understanding to do these kind of exercises. So it's very important that we as architects or researchers do that extra bit of effort to prove that a lot of these things that we use traditionally or locally is sustainable. So I think that effort has to come from our side. And again, when we use new materials like lights and air conditioning, how to do without air conditioning, I think it should be definitely part of the learning process of architecture and figuring out what is comfortable, again what is sustainable. I think that's a lifetime journey, and it should start definitely from architecture students. As I said earlier, the only issue which I find often is the world is getting very much digitized, or I would say visual. The world is getting very visual. So that has its effects on architecture also, because we are living in a world flooded with images. If you see the phone, Instagram or other tools, it's a lot of material, a lot of images. But I think pure architecture or true architecture goes beyond images. It is a multi-sensory, multi-dimensional experience. So I would say we should get whatever tools are there. We shouldn't avoid the tools. Definitely these are helpful. But also we should practice conscious architecture, and we should learn how to experience through our body, through our multi-dimensional senses. So I think that's very important. That goes beyond time, that's it from ages, or I think its value will survive whatever future is there. That value is always there. Yeah.